Good afternoon, everyone. It's Louise here from Eleanor Grace. So we're on week 3. We're definitely going to go into week 4 now. I do apologise. I've had no time to post in the week because unfortunately my heating has gone and my hot water, and it's getting really cold here in the UK. So I've had a real struggle. So apologies for not doing a midweek session. My cat Ella is on the table and enjoying herself, so she may make an appearance sometime. So do please keep an eye out for her. So we were on week 3. I've seen some lovely lovely ones on the group on Facebook, Slow Stitching by Hand with Eleanor Grace. So there was Colleen, Myra, Millie and Rebecca, I mentioned last week, who've all been making some beautiful entries. It's so lovely to see what you've done, and you've all done such different things. It's just so nice to think that I am actually talking to someone's at the other end listening to me and giving it a go and making it their own. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to another week. So I did say last week to get yourself some brown and some cream or some off-white, because I thought you might also want to have a go at these Christmas puddings. So Christmas puddings, I don't know how they're seen worldwide. They're very popular here in the UK. I personally can't stand Christmas puddings. I'd much rather have a mince pie, which is a nice sweet treat. But these are little Christmas puds that I made just very simply. So it's the same sort of idea of getting a couple of pieces of brown felt. This one is about 2 inches wide, which is about 5 to 5.5 centimeters. This one's about 4 to 4.5, which is about 1 3/4 inches. And so 2 pieces, obviously you've got the back as well. So 2 full pieces of the brown, cut to whatever size you like, sort of 2 inch or thereabouts is quite nice. And then cutting a piece from the white where you have a little bit of like an icing looking effect, where you what I found it easiest to do was to cut a whole circle and then just trim along the middle, and then you had 2 white pieces that you could apply. And then what I did with these, very simple, is that I embroidered, I sewed the piece on the sort of the white here to one of the sides, and then I embroidered that first before then adding the back and stuffing it. So very simple. Here I've done some seed stitch, and here I've done some French knots, and they are just really very simple and very cute. What I would advise is to obviously leave yourself a gap when you're going around the edge. Sometimes I get a bit overexcited and I sew it all up and then realise, oh, I've got to put the loop in at the top. So I tend to start usually around here. I'm left-handed, so I tend to work that way round, clockwise. So I sew up to about here, then I stuff it and finish sewing the rest up, adding in the little loop at the end. And what I do sometimes is add in a couple of extra stitches at the top just to keep that secure. This is the same way that you will obviously stitch up the ones. If you're nearing the end of yours, then you can, that's the way that you would be stitching up these as well for our general ones. But I thought you might like to have a go at the puds. I'm doing quite well with mine. Very nearly finished on some of these, and a little bit more to add, and I have started a new one as well, so I thought I'll just show you that. So let me show you what I got here. So this one, as you might remember last time, I'd gone so far as doing this feather stitch around the edge, and then this red line of just a simple running stitch inside. I then decided, obviously I needed to come inwards, and I decided I wanted something in the centre, so I thought of trying to make a sort of almost like a holly sort of shape. So what I did is used a really simple stitch, leaf stitch, which is really really attractive, and it's fairly easy to do, so I will show you that one in a minute. So I've just made 2 leaves with a couple of little French knots to look to make the berries. I've also done a radiating out little sort of a simple running stitch, but going out in a circle. And then here I've done herringbone, which is another one of my favourites. In the circle, it was a little bit tricky, but the way I found it easiest was to match up with the inside of the red running stitch here. So I wanted to make sure that I had the top of each one of these almost sort of wigwams there inside the running stitch, and that sort of kept me on track. Certainly it's not perfect in any way. Apologies, Ella is just washing herself vigorously, so the camera's shaking. But it's a very lovely stitch, and I have got a full tutorial on that, so do have a look if you fancy giving that a go. But I'm quite pleased with how that's turned out. It's not a perfect sort of, you get the idea that it's meant to be holly. It's not a perfect sort of holly stitch, but I thought it was a little bit fun. So really the only thing to do now is to stitch this one up, so that one's ready to roll. And again, as I said with the Christmas puddings, what I would do is either a running stitch around the edge, or possibly do a blanket stitch, which I do really love. It can be a bit tricky to get the hang of initially with a blanket stitch, but it does look very effective. So certainly one of these is definitely going to have a blanket stitch around the edge, if not more of them. This one I've also made some progress on. And hopefully you can see. I had finished up at having done these red fly stitches, sort of single fly stitches. I decided in the end to change my colours just a little bit. I had a little ring in here of a silver sparkle, and it didn't quite work for me. So I've changed it to gold. And what I've done is intersperse the fly stitches with French knots there, and then I've taken the gold doubled up because it's quite a fine stranded sort of thing. I've doubled it up to do again a herringbone stitch around the edge. So that is really really pretty. And then going around the edge of that again, I've done a single chain stitch around the edge. I feel it's very nearly done. I might just put something in between these, and then I will do an edging on that. So the edging will likely be in either white or gold, because I've done red here. And the edging on here, I feel green might be the way to go for that one, but I might do white. I shall see how I feel. This one I've also made a bit of progress. So this one, I had got round to this very tight inner circle, and I really felt last time, if you remember, that I had to come out of it. And so again, I've done some little fly stitches with some French knots in this very fiddly, this is a really fiddly metallic. Metallics are so lovely, but they are hard sometimes to use. And this bit is far from perfect, because it is very, very difficult to do a French knot with these. So I'm just going to be happy with what I've got there. And again, I've done the metallic on the inside there, so I've sort of taken that out to radiate out into the edge there. And I just feel I might do another little thing around here, ready for next week, and then we'll start stitching it up. So that's that one. And finally, I thought, these are all lovely, but they don't really go with my decor, which is terrible, isn't it? The last couple of years, I've done all my Christmas decorations in the colours that I have in the house, which is a sort of neutrals and a bit of soft pink, a bit of soft green, and a tiny bit of gold. And so I thought I would do one in there. So if you see my original ones, they all go on my Christmas tree, because they are the right sort of colours. the soft pinks and the soft greens and a tiny bit of gold or yellow on there. So I've started this one, and already for me, I think, oh, this is so pretty. It really appeals to me. So I've done some French knots in the centre and a band of chain stitch on that smaller pink piece of felt. So I'm going to then come out from here with some green, soft green, I think. So that one has a little bit more work to do on it, but I will do that this week, and I will try my best if my heating is all sorted out. Hopefully I will try my best to post sort of midweek or maybe Thursday on this, just to sort of show you how I'm doing with these. So as I say, I'm loving seeing all of your work on the group, and I hope you're enjoying the stitch along. I'm just going to show you very briefly the leaf stitch, just in case you wanted to think about making one of these sort of almost looking a little bit like Christmas holly stitches. So I will show you that next. So I've got a piece of just spare felt here. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to do it on a larger scale, because otherwise if I do it as small as the ones I've done here, you'll never see it. So what you want to do is think about where you want to place your stitch. So I say I'm going to do the same thing as I've done here, place it right in the middle of this piece. So you want to think about where your leaves are going to be going, and where the top of one of those leaves is going to be. So for me, that's just slightly off center in this case, and what you do is obviously a tiny little knot at the back, and then you're going to come down to about half the length of the stitch you think you're going to make. So I'm going to say I'm making a slightly bigger one, so I'm going to make it about there. Okay, so you then come up just either side. Now if you're left-handed like me, you might want to come up right over left and then left over right, or the other way around. If you're right-handed, you may well want to do the opposite. You just want to come slightly down and to the side of your first stitch. Then you want to just put your needle through just below and to the side of the opposite side of the first stitch, if that makes sense. So you're doing a slight diagonal, but only just. You want to come very close to the bottom of the stitch there. So that's the first stitch, and then on the left hand side you're just going to be doing the same, and you're going to be crossing those over just slightly, and keep doing that. And what I did, because the holly is not, normally you would go down in a nice neat line, but because the holly is spiky, what I did is I did the occasional stitch a bit longer, so it almost looks more like a holly leaf, because they come out in that sort of almost zigzaggy sort of spiral pattern, don't they? So I did a couple of stitches that went a bit longer. I've gone a little bit too far over there, but that's okay. And then I come in a bit again, and just as I say, as you're going along, you just go a little bit further down and a little bit further across, and you get a bit of a leaf shape. But as I say, I made these quite small. Oh, I've lost my thread there. 1 second. I made these quite small on purpose, because I just wanted to fill that little space. So you can see you're starting to get a sort of, well, it looks a bit like a leaf pattern. So yeah, because it's holly, you might want to make more of the longer stitches every so often, and intersperse it with the shorter stitches. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, as we all know. Perfection is not a requirement here with slow stitching. You will still end up with a beautiful little shape. So that's what I did here, and these are much smaller stitches, but the same sort of idea of sort of making them slightly wider at times than I would do normally with a leaf stitch. Normally a leaf stitch is very, very, very tidy, but these are just a little bit more sort of random, because then when you've done a couple of these, 2 or 3 of these leaves, then you can put in a little French knots to make the red berries. Obviously, red on red is not going to look great, but it looks lovely if you do it on white or on green. So white is good because you can do the red and the green and it'll show up really well, or silver, or whatever colours you're fancying doing. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I've loved seeing your works. If anyone else wants to come onto the group and show us what they've been working on, I'd love to see it, and I'd love to see how different they all are and how everyone's taken the brief, but they've done something completely different. So have a lovely weekend, everyone, and I hope to see you again in the midweek, heating permitting, and if not, I will see you next Sunday. Have a lovely week. Bye.